silence and invoke the presence of the divine. So welcome all of you to the Values for Life series episodes. This is the episode number 43 and on confidence. And I really can't thank enough Sister Denise. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation at such a short notice. Immense gratitude for that. And this audience knows Sister Denise very well. But let me, as usual, tell you a few things about her. And all of you know her that she is one of the first students, the Western students, what we can say, and has been trained under Dadi Janki right in UK. And she came into knowledge at the very young age of around 23. And after that, it has been no looking back. Between 1975 and 2000, she has been instrumental in coordinating and opening up many centers in the entire North America, that is Canada and US, and even in Germany. And as we speak now, she's right now in France as well. That's what I came to know. A few other feathers in her cap are she has featured on almost 100 television programs on Raj Yoga and a further 100 on addiction recovery. And also, what I like most about her is she has contributed to almost 10 textbooks, writing down about the diploma programs in value education and spirituality while she was in India at our international headquarters in Mount Abu. And as always, a poem for her that we have with us today, our near and dear Sister Denise, who's an embodiment of love, power, and peace. Having surrendered herself to the Almighty on a permanent lease, her life is as smooth as silk without any crease. She shall guide us on how to remain away from the worldly fleece by incorporating spirituality in our life, which acts as the magic grease. So away from the worldly fleece with the magic grease. And a few lines on confidence, which is the topic for today. It's amazing and truly indeed a divine coincidence that we have Sister Denise today speaking on confidence. So let's have full faith in the self and try to make sense of what is in my destiny according to the divine providence. Life otherwise is a game full of challenges, which though are very, very dense, but let's solve those by returning inside to our true essence. So with this, I welcome Sister Denise once again, and I would request Sister Claudia, who's the center coordinator from Vancouver, please welcome her with flowers. Over to you, Sister Claudia.
Om Shanti, good afternoon for many, good morning from us, maybe good evening for some of you. So Sister Denise, is so nice to have you with us today. I think that was like Brother Manoj said, was from the sky that we was able to have you talking to us about confidence, because we need to become very confident like you are. So I would like to have a very warm welcome from the land where you served for so many years, Toronto. And I like to have the two rows that represent Canada flag. So you left your soul here, so we kind of remember all the time from this land. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much. And Canada is always in my heart, and it's wonderful to be with all of you today. And it's very lovely to see how many languages we have with us today, Indian languages, different parts of the world. Wonderful. Thank you. So, confidence. Well, this is a word that is interpreted by different people in different ways. So I think it's quite useful to look at a definition. And a few people have been asking me recently whether this person is confident or is it something else. Because sometimes a person seems very sure of themselves, and in their case, we may call it arrogance. And so there's a difference between confident, a person who's confident, and a person who looks very confident but is actually arrogant. There may be another one who is not particularly pushing themselves forward, but yet they're very sure of themselves. And I would say that that is confidence without being pushy, without being arrogant. And of course, arrogance comes in the list of vices that we have in Brahma Kumaris: greed, anger, lust, attachment, and arrogance or ego. And ego is very often described as false ego. And so perhaps we could say that when a person is arrogant and someone may think that they're confident, it's a false kind of confidence, and it's a cover for actually not really knowing the self and having faith in the self. In the description, the flyer at the beginning, the word in Hindi for confidence was given as Vishwas, which often means trust. And so confidence in the sense of, do you trust yourself? Do you trust your judgment? And in that sense, we can think about confidence as a willingness to take a risk. Now, some people think that risk taking is not very sensible, and in the world of business, there are people who are dealing with risk management, where the thought is that if you do something that isn't absolutely safe, then you are in danger, at risk in that sense. And so maybe that is unjustifiably confident, where again, the confidence is not true confidence, but something more like arrogance, something more like wanting to seem to be more capable, more competent than you really are. Then, if we look on the other side, there are people who are suppressed, people who have had many experiences and different kinds of conditioning where they are actually trained to not have confidence in themselves. And even though they may be right, but they have doubt. And so they hold back, and they very often make mistakes because they hold back, and they give away their power to other people. And this is a psychological effect from having been conditioned over a long period of time to doubt the self and to believe that one is not very capable, not very valuable, and second class, second rate. And so this is also part of the equation. It's quite a complex equation, this matter of having faith in the self. And actually, the English word confidence comes from a Latin root. In Latin, the word faith is fides, and con means with. So to have faith with the self, to have faith with another, because one thing is self-confidence and another is confidence in other people. Or you could have confidence in your government or confidence in your religious organization, or confidence in the sense of have faith in God, have the confidence that God is looking upon you favorably and that you are okay. And there may be other situations you hear sometimes in politics of a vote of no confidence, so that a person who's in power may have been doing different activities that are not considered acceptable for that person's position and role, and then they will be given a vote of no confidence and asked to step down, because people are in the position they are because other people want them to be there or allow them to be there. And you may have another political situation where somebody is a dictator, an autocrat, and they may have gathered together power and they maintain that position of power using violence to suppress any opposition, or they may use various other tactics to hold on to their position. And this is also a sign that they really do not have faith in themselves, but they have a desire for other people to hold them up by accepting a position of power. So you can see that this word confidence is part of quite a complex human situation, human perception. Now, another thing that I think is very much connected with the idea of confidence is freedom. And there are some cultures where people are really suspicious of the concept of freedom. And in spirituality, we have this word jivan mukti, which is a very interesting word that we learn about in Raj Yoga, which means that you have freedom in life. And then the opposite of that word is jivan band, where you are in a life of bondage. And a life of bondage is partly due to you being in a circumstance where other people restrain, restrict, repress, oppress, and limit you in various different ways. And it's also concerned with the limitations and restrictions that are placed upon you by circumstances as a direct result of your karma. And so there is also a connection between the state of having confidence in yourself, in others, in God, in circumstances, and your karma. And so your karma is absolutely as a result of your judgment. And very interestingly, this connects up with something that we also learn about in Raj Yoga, which is called the powers of Raj Yoga, the 8 powers. And there are 2 in particular that are flagged up as being extremely important. One is the power of discrimination or discernment, and the other is the power of judgment. And so a person who has this quality of confidence has it because they trust their judgment. And it's very, very important in life to be a good judge of character. A good judge of character means that you know who is who, you know who is what, you know if somebody's honorable or not, if they're honest or not, if they're for real or not, or if they're fake. Because you have that power of discrimination and you can tell. Many people don't have that. And what enables you to have confidence in your discernment and judgment of other people, and that is very much connected with your level of honesty. And it's very interesting, there is a saying that you cannot lie to an honest person because they'll figure it out right away. And that power of discernment is a product of your practice and study of spirituality, but more than anything, it is a product of how you conduct yourself with integrity, with honest, and with honor. And so then your confidence in your judgment will be solid, because you will not be fooling yourself. You will not be trying to fool anyone else. And so there is transparency about yourself, but also you have your boundaries. You do not allow anyone to cross your boundaries because you're clear about your own value as a human being. You have a sense and you trust your intuition. So there is a connection between your intuition, your integrity, your nobility, and your confidence. And there you can begin to see the clear line of distinction between real faith in yourself and the other kind of fake confidence, which comes from the expression of an arrogant person who will present themselves as confident, but they're lacking all these other things that I just mentioned. And so that's not confidence, that's arrogance. And there's another saying which is kind of interesting in this equation, and that is that pride comes before a fall. So when you have a person who seems to be very confident, but their confidence is because of arrogance, they will do some karma which will bring about their downfall. And then you will see the reality of the person who has lost face, who has been exposed, and in that circumstance, then all the confidence vanishes in an instant. So this is really very deep about what it means to be a solid, honorable, noble human being. And I think the practice and study of spirituality is really all about developing that. And I think that if you're not that, you can't become that. And if you are that, honest, honorable, clean, pure, obviously there are many things that happen to people in life, and so they may have damaged your sense of self and so on, but your core is clean and good and pure and honest. And when you develop your spirituality and cultivate your inner world, fill yourself with spiritual strength, it restores you to that internal characteristic of integrity and honor, and it gives you the natural confidence that was taken away by circumstances or disasters or traumas or something like this. So all of this is asking us to really go deep into ourselves and think about how you feel about yourself. Do you love yourself? Do you trust yourself? Are you would you prefer to be someone else? Are you jealous of somebody who seems to be doing better than you? Because if you have that, that would take away any kind of confidence that could be in the process of getting cultivated. So this confidence in the self is a kind of strength, and it's like the structural integrity of a soul. But when a soul has passed through many, many lives, has experienced many challenges and difficulties and so on, naturally that will erode this confidence. But as I said before, when the core is there and you begin to take in spiritual wisdom, spiritual understanding, you study, you practice, you find yourself once again. And finding yourself is really much like finding faith in yourself. You recognize yourself, you know who you are. One thing that is quite a challenge is projection. And the culture that we live in, it doesn't matter whether we are of one religion or another religion, or whether we are from the East or the West or the North or the South, but the global culture at the moment, behind all other cultures, is a culture of projecting assumptions onto people based on beliefs. And so therefore it produces a bias. Because the culture is biased towards certain characteristics and against certain other characteristics. We can say overall that it is a culture of materialism. And so when a person looks at you, what do they see? They will see your body, your color of the body, your size of the body, your clothing that you're wearing, your accoutrements to do with your bank account, your house, your professional qualification, all of this kind of thing. And they will evaluate you on the basis of these physical attributes. And they will say that if you have certain things, material benefits, that if you do have them, it means you are okay. And so there are many people who understand this, and they may be very competent criminals, and they dress very well, and they have all the right things, all the right connections, and so on and so forth. But they are fake, they are not real. And they may present themselves as very confident, and they may fool others effectively. And so this is a global problem that everyone is caught up in, that appearances are everything. And the eye, the inner eye, which is able to discern behind the facade, that eye is not working. And in the study and practice of Raj Yoga, we talk a lot about the third eye. And the third eye is your eye of discrimination, your eye of wisdom, your inner eye, where you're able to see what your two eyes cannot reveal to you. And so when you are a person who is developing yourself spiritually, you're developing this third eye. The third eye working together with the two eyes, physical eyes, will not be fooled by appearances. And such a person who builds themselves up on the basis of real, clear integrity, they may pass through a lot of difficulties and opposition because if someone is really real and they are surrounded by people who are not real, those not real people, if you accept my description of not real as being fake, those fake people feel very uncomfortable around a person who's real. And that's a kind of intuition, I think. They will be intuitively afraid that person will see through their facade, which of course they will. And so they may, I think it's quite normal, they will do certain actions to try to disempower or to diminish or to cause others to doubt that person. And I think it's a very interesting type of challenge or problem that a confident person needs to face. Because when you have to face big difficulties from people who may be not very good or whatever, it doesn't matter, you need to have these challenges in order to consolidate your faith in yourself. Because we have to admit that at this time in world history, no one is completely in their power. No one is spiritually complete, fulfilled. No one has yet become a Jivan Mukta, a person who is seriously, completely free in life. Everyone at this time is dealing with some or another karmic account. But if the person who is really clean and really pure wishes to find the self again and is willing to do the work to find the self again and restore the self to their original condition, they must pass tests. And a lesser person would probably consider that, well, if I am being doubted by many people, if I'm being slandered, if I'm being discredited, then I should just kind of suppress myself and hide away somewhere. But a person who is real and solid and who does recognize the self and has faith in the self will not see it that way. And they will understand the nature of the test, the importance of the test, and they will accept the test. And this takes us to another of the group of 8 powers that we learn about in Raj Yoga, and that means the power of accommodation and the power of tolerance. These are very important powers because it means that whatever test you have to face, it will not cause you to doubt yourself, but instead of that, you will refine yourself, you will consolidate your inner power, you will maintain your positive outlook on people who may present themselves as your enemies. You will not really get caught up in that game because you will understand that you must take and pass the tests. Because not only is confidence about you having confidence in yourself, but other people have to have confidence in you. And it is a reality that we know very well. It's important to have faith in God. It's important to understand that God is there for you, but it's also important to understand that God is very subtle and intangible and indiscernible. And so what are people looking for? They're looking for people that they can have faith in, people that they can be confident in. And as you remember, I was mentioning that in the world of politics, there are leaders who are elected or appointed, and they need to be beings that the public can have faith in because they hold power. And whether it's a head of government or a head of an institution or a head of a school or anyone in a position of leadership is looked at by others, and they want to have confidence in that person. Because the majority of people don't actually feel that having faith in themselves is enough. They look for people who they can look up to, who they can have faith in order to feel that everything is okay. And the nature of human society is pyramidal in this sense. And so, for example, a person who has the appearance of confidence in the form of arrogance, which I was mentioning earlier, many people can be caught up in that arrogance and believe in that. And then when the fall comes, pride comes before a fall. So when the fall comes, then those people are really severely disappointed because they feel betrayed. And so when you are a person of confidence because you are a solid individual, and people start to look up to you, and they assume that you are for real, and if you are for real, then they will not get betrayed. But how many people are so solid and so clean inside and outside and so strong that people will actually not get betrayed? And I think this is something very important in human nature. You, as a human being, for example, when you are a small child, your figures in your life are your parents. And your parents are the moral authorities of your life. They are the experts. They prepare you for life. And if something happens and you find out that your parents are unworthy on some level, then that can really destroy your sense of everything being all right, and then you become some sort of a survivor. And this will also create an arrogant person who will appear to be strong and solid but will actually not be. And so these are psychological issues that happen when a child is betrayed by the parent. Or it can happen that a student gets betrayed by the teacher who they look up to, they believe in, and then finally they find out that that person is not what they were cracked up to be. And then there is this terrible feeling of betrayal. And when there is a feeling of betrayal, that person also loses confidence because they realized that they were unable to evaluate that person and they were fooled. So there is this aspect of being fooled and then being betrayed, and then it's a very, very disempowering situation for a person. And so we're all vulnerable to things like that. And when you want to build yourself as an individual, build your spirituality, find out really who you are and what you are, if you don't have these tests, if you don't pass through these reality checks, if you will, then you remain too vulnerable, too weak, too easily betrayed, and knocked off your sense of self by these circumstances. And in the process of spirituality, I think one needs to be a little bit hardened by these things. Because sometimes people think that spirituality is all about being sweet and loving and gentle and caring and actually quite vulnerable, which is very true. But then that has to be balanced with a fierce, strong backbone, so that you can actually come through and manage the various different kinds of challenges which are, reasonable or unreasonable. And in the mythology of India, which is very helpful for us, we see how the heroes have to undergo tests, and they will be, they will be sabotaged, they will be, misrepresented, misused, they will be lied to, they will be cheated, all sorts of things will happen. And the person with a good power of discernment and a good, clear intuition will be able to recognize what's going on. And this actually builds your confidence. And it also builds other people's confidence in you. And I think it also enables you to be a person who is ready to trust in God and be alone. This is very interesting in terms of leadership. I think confidence is connected with leadership, whether you're a leader in a very small family group or in a company or whatever your circumstance is, in a big environment or a small environment. But leadership is about being ready to be alone, under the guidance and wisdom of your conscience and of God and purity, spirituality, but you are not giving away your power to other people. You are not taking support from your position, from property, from all the different aspects of appearance. If you take support from any of these things, it is said that this is like standing on a roof made of grass, which means, of course, you'll fall through. You want to stand on solid ground, and the solid ground, I think, has to be your personal integrity. And when your conscience is clear, then I think you can be a person who is truly confident, because you don't have anything on your conscience. If your conscience is clear, even if everybody is talking against you or slandering you, or you get kicked out, or whatever can happen to people, but when you operate on the base of your conscience and your conscience is clear, you are so strong, because none of those things actually cause you to fall. Nothing will cause you to fall. You may not look good in the eyes of other people, but in your own eyes, you're intact. And your conscience, your relationship with the divine, all of these are intact, but they are not visible to the public. But yet there is a vibration, there's a quality in a person like that which can be felt. And, as the years go by and you pass through different kinds of circumstances, tests, health issues, many things happen. But when you have that purity and integrity, your confidence in yourself becomes more and more difficult for other people to shake. And this makes you like a mountain. And, this place where I'm living is very near to the Pyrenees Mountains. And it's not like the Himalayas, but it's still pretty high mountains that divide Spain and France. And so from this place you can see these mountains on a clear day. But if it's cloudy or hazy, then you cannot see those mountains. So you don't remember that they're there when you can't see them. And I think it's something like that for the confident person, or the person who's really building themselves into a person like a mountain. When things are very clear, they're visible. But in the complications and chaos of the world today, you very often cannot see who's viable, who's not. You cannot tell who you can trust, who you can't trust. But when things are clear, those mountains are visible. And I think that everyone, as they live, they're looking for meaning. What makes your life have meaning? And different people will select different things that they say, okay, if I have this, then my life has meaning. For many people, it's about family. If you have your family, everything is going all right, then that gives meaning to your life. And for some who are really concerned about their purity and their integrity, I think what gives meaning to their life is that they are so clean inside, that their conscience is clear, they are ready to, open up totally, and they have nothing to hide. There is nothing that they are ashamed of, or that they've done that they hope nobody knows about. And when you're confident that everything that you have done is because of reasons that are to do with your integrity, you have this strength, and that your life, by the time you end your life, whether it's today or next week or in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, that your life is like a memorial. And I remember Daddy Janki, our former head of the Brahma Kumaris, used to talk to us about what memorial will you leave? And I think that was very interesting. She would train us to greatness, and she would ask us, okay, when you die, what will people remember? It's not just a nice homily that people will give in your funeral, but what will really be remembered for a long, 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 long time is that purity, that integrity, that purposefulness. And if you are focused on that in yourself, and that this gives meaning to your life, and you're focused on this idea that, okay, maybe other people cannot see me who I am, they may misinterpret me or whatever, but God sees me and I see me, and that's enough, you know. And then I think you have a very good sense of confidence that is a real faith, and that other people will say, yes, this is a solid person. This person is for real. I can, put my money on this person, however you want to put it. But that's, I think, how I think of confidence and faith and integrity. These are all connected with each other. And yeah, those are a few thoughts about confidence. And perhaps now I'd like to turn it over to Manoj. Thank you. Shanti.
So amazing. Thank you so much. And it was beautiful sharings on so many different values which you covered in relation to confidence. And also you touched upon the powers of the 8 powers. You mentioned those 4 powers. And incidentally, this month we are covering 2 of them. We've already covered power to discern. And we're having in the next few weeks the power to judge or decide. Okay, so interestingly, the first question is on arrogance and ego, as you mentioned. They always say that there is a thin line between self-esteem and ego. So I want you to clarify that thing. What's that thin line? And second question closely related is, what is the thin line between self-confidence and overconfidence? I should not be overconfident, should I? So these 2 questions.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let me take the second one first, self-confidence and overconfidence. I think we'd have to say that overconfidence is a person who is a little bit narcissistic, and they have created an image of themselves which is not real, and they want to sustain that image so that other people will think that they're wonderful, marvelous, and fantastic, but in fact they're just ordinary, and they start to act on the basis of this misplaced self-confidence, and everything falls apart. And this is very connected, and perhaps we could even say that it's the same thing as confidence and arrogance. So we might want to say that overconfidence is another word for arrogance. And this thin line between self-esteem and arrogance is only thin if you have a lot of arrogance, so you can't see the line. But if you are not arrogant and you know the difference, then it's absolutely clear. And there is no possibility of getting mixed up. You remember that I was saying earlier that it's not possible to lie to an honest person because they will see through it. And in the same way, I think the person who has real self-esteem, they have a clear conscience. When there is arrogance, it'll be visible. One of the things that I do as I interact with people is I always start by giving people the benefit of the doubt, and I will interact with them as if they are a person of integrity and so on and so forth. And in my interaction with them for at least a year, I will observe them and see where they fulfill the criteria that they claim for themselves and where they fall short. And then it's really possible to build a picture and see whether somebody is for real or not. And so then after a year, then you say, okay, let's give it another year and let's see, giving people the benefit of the doubt. But you see, when a person repeatedly proves that they are not for real or that they can't do what they say they're going to do or they don't have the capability, etc., then there's no doubt that, and so you have to say, okay, very good, but you do not qualify for the position you're occupying. You do not qualify for my respect. And so I cannot respect you because you're fake. I won't say that, of course, but, I will know that the way a person conducts themselves reveals them. And so we have the power of discernment and discrimination. Sometimes people say to me, oh, you're judging me. And there is this expression, very common expression. People say, don't judge, don't judge. And I wonder, what are they talking about? Don't judge, don't judge. If you don't judge, you're a big fool. But judge, I think when people say don't judge, they mean don't criticize or don't condemn. I think they're not really using the English language very accurately. And I'm a person who really is very interested in words and the use of words and so on. And especially that in Raj Yoga, we are taught you must learn the power of judgment. So that means you must be a good judge of character. You must judge whether something's real or not real. You must judge whether your own work is correct or not correct. The quality of your character, the decisions that you make, everything is based on good judgment or poor judgment. And so judging is essential. But if people are not for real, they're not going to like it when somebody evaluates them because they're going to come up short and they're not going to look good and they want to look good. And that's your overconfidence, that's your arrogance, that's your narcissism. But it doesn't hold up, you see. And so that's just the way it goes. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. It was amazing. When we are discussing confidence, it starts with a C. So you mentioned beautifully about condemnation and criticism. Let me come to another C, which is very closely related to confidence. It is about, oh, I forgot it, but it will come back to me. Yeah, I'll just read a quote for you. Yeah, it's comparison. So, someone is, there's a quote. I'll just read out that quote for you and you can please clarify that quote for us. That confidence isn't walking into a room with your nose in the air and thinking that you are better than everyone else, but it's walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone else in the first place. So this is about comparison, not to compare with others. So a confident person obviously will not be comparing. So how do we develop this self-confidence? Any tips so that we don't compare our life with others? Even in spiritual context, people do compare each other. Yeah.
Of course they do. And I think the comparison is because of self-doubt. This question, am I okay? And so how do you answer that question? Well, I'm more beautiful than this person, that makes me okay. Or I am more intelligent than this person, that makes me okay. Or I have more money than this person, that makes me okay. So if you do not think that you're okay, then you will try some ways to make yourself feel okay by comparing yourself with others where you look favorable in comparison with someone else. And then there's the downside of that, which is you walk into a room and you see all the people are more glamorous than you, so you feel bad about yourself. They are looking like they can do the cocktail party small talk better than you, so you feel bad about yourself. They have more expensive clothes than you, so you feel. So this comparison is where you take your value in comparison with other people, and when you think they're less than you feel okay, and when you think they're more than you feel bad. And that means that you are completely under the influence of the people around you, even if they're not trying to influence you. So comparing yourself with others is called giving away your power. And so how do you become free from that is really quite a big piece of work, because you may start off not feeling good about yourself and therefore not confident. Or you may start out thinking too highly of yourself because, I don't know, somebody trained you to be arrogant or something like this. All of this is part of your, what we call sanskaras, of how you're raised in your family. But there are very few people who are raised by parents who are able to reflect them accurately. So a lot of parents make a person feel disempowered or feel less than, and then others who pump them up and they feel more than, and then they go into a different environment, they can't function properly. And so the lucky one is the one who will reflect them accurately. And I think it's very interesting that we who are studying Raj Yoga are taught that, okay, you are a spiritual being and you are a child of God who is the Supreme Spirit, and that you must understand this relationship. And the relationship is such that circumstantially, when you are trying to be in relationship with the Supreme Being, you are constantly getting reflected back to yourself accurately. And sometimes you don't like the reflection because your shortcomings will be flagged up. A good parent will let you know where you're off track so that you'll be on track again. And if you are thinking too low of yourself, then that good parent will reflect you back to yourself so that you realize, no, you are very valuable, you are very good, you are very important, and do not shortchange yourself, do not think badly about yourself. You see, because when you're real and you're in contact with who you are, you know who you are, you don't get impressed by anyone, and you don't feel superior, because all that is only for people who don't know who they are, you see. And spiritual practice is all about coming to know who you are and knowing that everyone is different. Everyone has their own performance, and there's a dance, there's a game going on, and you need to be skilled in life. But you have to be, there's an expression that Dadi Janki used to tell us, Swachintan and Ishwar Chintan. You have to think about yourself. When you're comparing yourself to other people, you're thinking about them. But when you're thinking about yourself, then you have to be in contact with yourself and not sort of let yourself fall into pieces and get taken up by other people and all fragmented. That is psychologically very weak, and you can't allow that.
Well, amazing. I must say your vocabulary, all of us know very well about your Hindi and Sanskrit is fantastic, because you covered words like Vishwas, because that's what I was wondering. What should we put in confidence? Anu's sister mentioned Atma Vishwas, which is more of self-confidence, but I could find out Vishwas more goes in that towards confidence. So I would want a quick answer on these three things. We have three different words in Hindi. for trust, faith, and confidence. Do you want to distinguish between these three?
Okay, tell me what they are.
Yeah, the three ones: the trust, faith, and confidence.
Look at the English.
Yeah, the English ones. Yeah.
The thing about language is that there are so many synonyms. And there are circumstances where you could equally well say trust, faith, and confidence, where they're completely synonymous. But a poet, and you're a poet, will say, no, but, one of them is better than another one. And so you will select, because every word has a vibration, and there are associations with these words. And so when you're selecting a word that you're using, whether written or spoken, you're selecting the associations and the vibration and the metaphors, because you want a person to experience what you mean. And you want to understand yourself. And what do I mean? Am I talking about trust? Do I trust myself, or am I confident? It's like there's a different feel to the two. And confident, I feel okay. Trust, it's like, yeah, go for it. Your decision, it's like, I'm not going to make a mistake here. I may be taking a risk, but I trust my instincts. I trust my intuition, and so I will do this. And then faith, it's like more long term. I have faith in myself. It doesn't matter what happens. I know that I will, get through this. I know that I will get understood. I will get, it will come out right. And there you're looking at, I think, the long term. And so there are these areas of difference, which, and there may be many more, but I think when you're very interested in words and you want the right word, I'm in France, which is a country that is very, very conscious about variations of meaning and language, and they have when they train translators, and I was trained as a translator in university, so they really train you le mot juste. You need to, when you're translating a piece of literature from one language into another, you've got to use the right word, because if you don't use the right word, people won't understand it the way you intended it. And that's really a very refined attribute of communication. And we need to be able to communicate with people accurately. And because people are not really attentive on the meaning of the words that they use, the meaning gets very fuzzy. And people will misuse words, or they use fashionable words. Like if something is fabulous, you think fabulous means very nice, but fabulous means it's to do with a fable. And a fable is that you take the characteristics of an animal that correspond to the characteristics of a human being. Like you say, foxy, that means a person is cunning like a fox or whatever. That's the meaning of fabulous, but people think fabulous means wonderful, marvelous, and fantastic, but it's quite precise.
Right. I just love that, the way you told us these foxy and fabulous. So we'll just, this is not a question, it's more of a comment. In childhood psychology, very rightly we understand that juvenile delinquency is related to lack of self-confidence. In childhood, something has happened, some childhood trauma, and the child becomes delinquent. So we learn quite a bit about that. Another interesting question from a brother is that we may lack sometimes self-confidence, but God, the Supreme Being, He has confidently chosen all of us to be His divine instruments for service. So is it on the basis of, I mean, how is that? Is it on the basis of our good karmas of previous births?
Well, this is a very, very deep question, because how do you know that God chose you for your wonderful, marvelous, fantastic qualities? What I find very interesting is that he says, okay, I am the creator, director, and main actor of this drama. And drama mustn't be boring, otherwise the audience will leave. So drama has to have heroes, villains, stupid people, clowns, experts, magicians, everything. So then he says, okay, you are performing the exact identical role that you perform every kalpa, right? So are you selected or are you not selected? Was there a beginning or not? Who are you anyway? I think each and every one of us, there's a fixed number of souls. There's a lot of them, and all the souls have their roles. And thinking about this, I used to think a great deal, and I came to the conclusion that, well, I'm really glad that I am me, because who I am is totally fulfilling, and I don't want to be anybody else. And there are some people, they are not satisfied with themselves. And God is enjoying playing with his children. And every father who has a lot of children has a lot of different ones, good ones, not so good ones, crazy ones. And he loves them all because they're all his children. So I don't think we can say that we are selected because we're fulfilling certain particular criteria. We are selected. We can say, yes, I am really happy to be in this role. I'm really happy to be chosen. What I'm chosen for or why I'm chosen, I really cannot say, And why is somebody else chosen? Maybe you would say, oh, I wouldn't have chosen that one. That one's really not my cup of tea. But they're necessary. Everyone needs to be there. So I think God is teaching us to allow everyone to be exactly who they are, and to be free from this criticism and free from this comparison that you talked about earlier. That makes sense to me.
Right. Good. And I think the question is related to the mythological stories. I think you touched upon that. And I would not want to say stupid, but it's about Sita, a character in Ramayana. You can please explain all of in the Western audience who's not much aware of these Indian mythological stories, that she didn't confide in Lakshmana and even in Ram. And therefore, that Ravan, when he came and masqueraded as a form of sannyasi, she felt it is Ram who's calling. And then she didn't have the power to discern. And also she did a wrong judgment. She was not able to decide properly. But she lacked confidence, trust, and faith in Lakshman and also even in Ram. And she was taken away by Ravan. So you can just explain this mythological, what exactly it means, Sita, Ravan, and Ram.
Well, the Ramayana has 500 million different versions, as you know. And there are people who describe Sita and what she thought and what she felt and so on and so forth. And we have to remember this is a myth. And myths are written by people. And the people, when they are writing an interpretation of this ancient myth, they have their message and their agenda that they want to put across. And this is also why there are so many different descriptions of what was going on in Sita's mind. But there's one that I found quite interesting, and it's very hard to say which version is the right version, because who knows. But in the version that I found quite interesting, she knew that it was Ravan, and she wanted the golden waistcoat, and she knew what it was going to cost her, and she did it anyway. And this is very interesting description of many people in the world today. They have a desire for something, they know they shouldn't, they want it anyway, and they know they're being deceived, but they go for it anyway. And this is a phenomenon that is the case for a huge number of people. And of course, what we learn in Raj Yoga is that the people who put their desires above their wisdom is the majority. It's the majority. And the people who make choices based on wisdom, regardless of their desires, is a small minority. But these are called the Golden Age people. And the Silver Age people are the ones who go for their desires at any cost, and even knowing that the cost is high. This is like addiction, you know. A person will drink knowing where it's going to take them, but they do it anyway. Or you get married with somebody knowing that it's totally the wrong person, but you do it anyway, and then you go through all that suffering. And I think God is telling us, you know, do you really want to carry on doing that, or do you want to like wake up and make good choices? And we say yes, 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 I want to wake up and make good choices, but then fall into that trap again and again and again. So yeah, I think that the myths of India are so important teaching tools for us to understand. And I mean, you have in the Gita, which I spend a lot of time with the Gita. You know, you play tricks in order to get things to come out right. And then people say, well, how can this be integrity? But there it is, you know. And so I think that it's somewhat outside the range of the moralistic human being to figure out these things. Because I think what God is saying is that, look, human being is not black and white. Human being is not just something that you can categorize in terms of a long list of virtues and values and whatnot. It's much more complex than that. And you have to understand the light and the dark and the complexities. And there is no such thing as a perfect person according to the moral human. You know, morality was invented by humans and reality is known by God. And what would you prefer, the human invention or the reality? To me, I rather have the reality. But I know that most people rather not, but that's okay.
Okay, amazing. So I'll just, in the interest of time, I'll just take the last question, but it has two people have asked about weaknesses. So I'll just read the first question related to how, because we have weaknesses in us that we are not able to develop self-confidence. So the first question a sister is asking, how to stay comfortable and confident, knowing and living with our own weaknesses. And the second is another sister is saying that Sister Denise once mentioned in the Bhatti that people do bad things not because they are bad, but because they are weak. So is it fair to blame souls for their actions when they are weak, which was actually inevitable according to the drama?
Ah, well, what a deep question or set of questions, you know. I think that weakness, weakness means your soul has run out of juice and you need power. And if you don't have power, you cannot fulfill your decision, your good decision, you see. And there are many, many different types of weaknesses that are actual weaknesses, and then there's other type of weaknesses which some person describes as a weakness to another person. We live in a world where women in particular are disempowered in every direction, in a patriarchal world, and so they're weak because of political reasons, because of social reasons, not because they're weak, but because they're in a very, very difficult situation where they are diminished and disempowered and so on. And so they can't function properly. And that's a weakness which is not coming from their soul, that's coming from their circumstances. Then there's, you're actually weak, spiritually weak. And it's not that you don't have confidence, but you don't have power. There's a difference between having power, when you're in a position of weakness and you are a weak soul, whatever you do will cause you a lot of problem. There's a question I ask people a lot, and we used to, not these days, but I ask them this question: that is it better to be a powerful soul in a weak position or a weak soul in a powerful position? And usually people say, well, obviously it's better to be a powerful soul in a weak position. But if you are a powerful soul in a weak position, don't expect it to be a piece of cake. It will be very difficult, but you're a powerful soul, and your position of weakness means you will have to face a lot of challenges. But if you're a weak soul in a powerful position, you will abuse your power and you will do a lot of bad karma, and then you will pay for that. So you have to really think about this question. And if you are a powerful soul in a weak position, well, you need patience, you need to really consolidate yourself. But if you are a weak soul, then you really need to sit with your conscience, because that's about the only way that you can come out of that weakness, and by giving importance to your conscience, because that will give you the right answers, the right guidance. And then not very many weak souls can work with God. You need to be pretty strong to work with God. That's the way it is.
Wow, amazing. And we are getting a lot of comments in the chat box that sisters' answers are excellent. And you're giving us amazing insights with all those questions, which I'm sure we'll be taking in the workshop next weekend on confidence to help us evaluate ourselves, how confident we are. So thank you once again. And I would now like to request Dr. Ashok Mehta to please propose the vote of thanks to Sister Denise. Over to you, Dr. Mehta.
Om Shanti, Denise Van.
Om Shanti.
Enjoy every bit of your intellectual interaction on confidence, with so much of confidence. Confidence, trust, honesty, all of them have given us the best things in our life. I think, to me, confidence is very important in my profession. My professional life is only confidence. You must have your own self-confidence, your feelings of fingers, your eyes, and your experience. They all come to and bring the confidence in you. Nowadays, of course, we have a lot of important investigations, like looking inside through various methodology like ultrasonography or computerized X-ray tomograms or a MRI or nuclear scans like PET scans. In the olden days, we didn't have any one of them. And still, I would say that we are able to do a good job. Not as good as what we're doing now, but certainly a good. So confidence, I think, in the self. I think we develop more and more as we go closer and closer to spirituality and to the God. He makes us absolutely, totally confident. He inspires to be confident. And our trust in him makes us more confident. It's just a pleasure to listen to you. I also share the views of Manoj Bhai, that the confidence in the language that you have, especially Hindi and English. And you said also between in French also you translate. I didn't know that part of it, but you're amazing. We just love to listen to you and love to be in your presence. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And lovely to see
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mehta. And also, we are not leaving you in the next few months. You're again with us. I'm not, it's a surprise for all of them. We'll be sharing it later. But you know which talk it is, but I'll remind you of that. And I would request Sister Anu now to please do the quick announcements and before we proceed to the meditation on confidence. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Manoj brother. Yeah, it's a fortune to have Sister Denise every time, and confidence was perfect to listen from you, and it is really deep insight to evaluate the self. Thank you so much, sister, from all of us. And yes, as Manoj brother said, we'll be having you soon, as Dr. Mehta said too. Okay, so very quickly, our next session is actually tomorrow. The spiritual significance of Eid. We'll have Sister Hussain from ORC Delhi in India. So it's tomorrow morning, as you can see, 8:30 p.m. India time. That is 8 a.m. West Coast time. I'm sure you all are also curious to know. So please join us. And our workshop on confidence will be after 1 week, Saturday, 16th July, 7:30 p.m. India time. That's 7 a.m. West Coast, Canada, US time. And we'll have Sister Gopi with us to where we'll have experiential exercises on confidence, as we'll take up few aspects from what Sister Denise shared today with us, and then we'll also have another insightful talk and meditation by Sister Gopi. So please join us then. Our next session on Values for Life series is episode 44 on bliss. That's in Hindi, Anand. And for that, we'll have our senior sister, Asha Didi from ORC, again, Delhi, India. So it's after 2 weeks, same time, evening 8 p.m. for India and 7:30 a.m. West Coast and 3:30 p.m. UK time. We have the second power to decide or judge this month, and that is on 24th of July with Brother Enric Simo, 8:30 p.m. India time, 8 a.m. West Coast time. So I think it's really very insightful month to know the self and really become the true self that God wants us to be. And you can get all the info about the joining links about all these programs on our websites. That's vihasa.in and vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca. And in our YouTube channels, you can get the videos of all these programs. So thank you, everyone. Over to you, Manoj brother.
Yeah, so we'll just have a quick meditation. And is it okay, Sister Denise? We'll have some soft background music.
Surely.
Yeah, so Anu sister, you can play that. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Take time to turn within. Feel yourself. Just I and myself alone. In my inner world. In my solitude. I am with myself. Everything else is external. Scenes and impressions sense perceptions. But on the inside, it is perception, but not sense perception. I perceive myself directly with my mind. I feel the vibration of my being. My purity and integrity is intact. I respect myself. The conscience is clear and clean. I go deep inside, see my motivations, observe my conduct with people, notice where I could improve my performance, my way. Notice if I get pulled into another influence and bring myself back to myself. Always aware, why do I do what I do? Checking the quality of my integrity. Is my love real, authentic, genuine? Love for God, love for humanity. Am I always motivated by these two? Check with the conscience. Am I real? Do I understand my value and live up to the hopes that God has in me, day by day, minute by minute? And then I can respect myself completely. Then I have that faith in myself, that sense of being genuine and honorable. In front of God, in front of people, open and transparent. Shanti.
So thank you so much for this wonderful meditation experience, and I would not forget to thank all the translators who are there in the background, tirelessly helping us with their service involvement. And people are requesting, sorry, after the meditation, I find it a bit odd to have a group photo. But is that okay? You can just take a quick group photo, Sister Anu.
Sure.
Thank you, Sister Denise. Everybody wants to have this memorable moment. So everyone who wants to have the video on, to have the photo, please switch on your video. One more page. Beautiful. Thank you, Sister Denise. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, brother, and thank you, everyone, and Om Shanti.